When I heard that Coke was re-releasing new Coke just for a limited time in very, very limited quantities, I was one of those crazy people that was really, really excited. See, new Coke for me back in 1985, 1986 was a pretty big deal. My maternal grandmother at the time was a Coke fiend. Every time that she would be home, she would have a glass of Coke in her hand, but it had to be the original stuff. When new Coke came out, she went bat crap crazy because she didn't like the new taste. She didn't want things to be changed. She wrote a letter to Coke, an angry letter to Coke, telling them that they needed to change back to the original formula. She was not alone. A lot of people felt the same way. But now, thanks to a Stranger Things kind of partnership, we are getting new Coke back in a very, very limited quantity. So we're going to check out new Coke in this particular video today. First of all, let me show you what's inside the Stranger Things box. I just got this today. When we open this up, we open the box. There's this thing. And we have inside this right here. This is a small bottle of Coke Zero, I believe. That's what this is. We have an original Coca-Cola bottle, and this is the kind with the twist cap that's really difficult to get off. These are the really cool bottles. I will eventually drink one of these. This is a limited edition number 12,815 of 175,000. That's what that says right there. But we're not going to open that up. And you get two cans of new Coke. And I am excited. I am very excited. I have been waiting for this since I ordered it. I have a cup with some ice in it that's already kind of melted. So I'm going to get rid of the excess water. And we're going to open this up. This, by the way, does have the Stranger Things logo on there. I have not seen Stranger Things. People keep telling me that I should watch it, but whatever. So let's open this up. Let's hopefully not get it all over my keyboard. There we go. And we'll kind of turn it around here, and we'll pour it into the glass. There we go. And for the first time in more than 30 years, all right, I have been waiting for this. I'm trying to kind of not overpsych myself, but here we go. Oh, this is so good. Oh, Coke, if you're listening, and you're not, if you're listening, bring this back. I would buy this. My Pepsi love would be done. If you brought this back, I would be all over this. This is amazing. Let me go ahead and refill this here real quick, because I am going to drink this whole thing on camera. New Coke tastes different than Coke Classic. I can't really describe what the difference is. I don't have the exact syllables, but this here is not what Coke Classic is. This has, I guess the best way to put it, it has more of a Pepsi taste to it, and I am a Pepsi guy at heart, as most of you know. I am the Pepsi guy, and this is closer to Pepsi than, obviously, than Coke is. So my mom bought this a few times, and we would have it a little bit. Now, in 85, that would have made me 13 years old, so I really wasn't, I really didn't have a lot of money. Being the oldest of three kids in a single mom household, we didn't have a lot of extra money for soda, so what my mom usually would do is get that really cheap soda from whatever the store was, and very, very rarely she would get a bottle of new Coke if she had some extra money or whatever, and she would bring it home, and it was a big, big treat, and that's what this reminds me of. In 1985, I was 13, so 7th grade, going into 8th grade. Was living in Holyoke, Massachusetts, in a low income housing project called Bowdoin Village. which is kind of near Holyoke Community College and not too far away from the Holyoke Mall at Ingleside, which I've talked about on camera before. Sorry, I'm savoring this. So what I remember about seventh grade was I remember that's when I battled not really battled, but I warded off getting beat up by a bully who really didn't like me very much because I was poor. I was going to a Catholic school at the time, and a lot of those kids were fairly well off, and I was not. So he just wanted to give me the business just because. So I told him rather than that, why does he challenge me any arcade game he wants? So we decided it was going to be on The Empire Strikes Back, which is the remod of the Star Wars arcade game from Atari. So I showed up, I was ready to go. It was a game that I had been practicing at, that I was pretty good at, and the bully never showed. And better than that, the bully left me alone after that because he didn't show. I don't know what it was, because somebody in the administration had talked to him, or whether some other kids just convinced him that I wasn't worth the effort. But whatever it was, I still attribute it to the fact that I challenged him to a video game duel and he didn't show up. Very much like a movie, I guess. I lived not really within walking distance, but the far end of walking distance, I guess. So on weekends or during the summer, I would load up my fake Walkman with the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack of all things, of course, and I would walk to the mall. And if I had allowance, I would be bringing that with me. Or if my paternal grandmother had given me some extra money, I would bring that with me. And I would spend the day at the mall. I would spend the day at the arcade. Um, if I had enough money left over, I should say, I would go to the food court and get some lunch first in between. This is before I bought a lot of games at the mall because I really didn't have a lot of disposable income. That didn't happen until the 1990s. But I did walk back and forth to the mall pretty regularly, all by myself. I used to go through an entire set of batteries for my Walkman round trip between walking to the mall and then playing my Walkman while I was playing arcade games, and then walking all the way back home. And interestingly enough, when I go down to the casino, when I go down to the arcade that's at that casino, I also load up, although not a Walkman, I load up my phone, and I wind up draining my battery just listening to music while I'm playing Galaga or Donkey Kong or Frogger or any number of arcade games that I happen to have down there to be able to play. So it's very reminiscent of that, if you ask me. Now, getting back to New Coke here, sadly, this is not coming back. This is a very limited time thing. There were, I think, what did they say? This 175,000, something like that, of these collector's edition sets. And then Coke is doing some promotional stops. I think they're doing like 3 or 4 around the country where they're going to be giving away cans at those events. And that's it. They are not going to be reproducing this. There are not going to be bottles in stores anymore. And it's understandable why. New Coke, by and large, was a failure. I was one of the few people who actually did like it and who still enjoy it today. But the memories that I carry from that particular time really stick with me. Remembering how angry my mom's mom was when the Coke flavor changed, how excited we were when my mom would bring home a bottle of New Coke every so often. It was always just this new thing, this treat that we had because we always had the cheap stuff. So getting a bottle of New Coke, even though it was different, it tasted different enough where it felt like it was mine and not my grandmother's, I guess. This is not your grandmother's Coke. This is your own. Not to steal Pepsi's line for a new generation, but that's really what it tasted like. And of course, because this came around in 85, 86, it certainly reminds me of the end of my middle school years, the beginning of my high school years. A lot of my arcade days, when I used to spend days in arcades, whether it was at the mall or elsewhere, was using my VIC-20 still at the time. I hadn't received my Commodore 64 just yet. I hadn't finished 8th grade. So I was still playing games on my VIC-20 every now and again. And that was my arcade gaming at home, unless I was playing my grandmother's Atari 2600 on rare occasions. So, I'm going to finish the rest of this New Coke myself off camera. But this is awesome. I believe you can still order these from the Coke store, cokestore.com, I think, if you're interested in it. It's a nice little collection. It's not something you're going to hold on to for years and years and years, but it's just something, it's a nice little throwback and a nice comparison between Coke Classic and New Coke. And then if you want to try the Coke Zero, you certainly can do that. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to finish this up. Enjoy the rest of your day/night, whenever this is, and we'll talk again soon.